Welcome to Rise Over Run. This is Piers Dormeyer going all the way to Maui today. We're here with Ryan Groth, Sales Transformation Group. Yeah, dude, doing the shaka. I love it. Welcome aboard, Ryan. We're all incredibly jealous of your new move. So you're plugged in and at it.
Yeah, plugged in from the island and at it. Loving it here. It's going okay.
Fully operational.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about the Sales Transformation Group.
Yeah, so we're a sales training, coaching, and consulting company serving the contracting industry. Most of our clientele are roofing. So we're really helping the contractor who are struggling with just having the structure and the roadmap to building that high performing sales environment that still maintains integrity and still based on relationships and still is consultative and is high value, not low price. And so what we're doing is we're serving the industry who are struggling with up and down revenues or relying on low price or just being dependent on storm events and not having retail of a retail presence, or they're in commercial and they're struggling with new construction, the ups and downs of the bid world, and they want to get into the private negotiated world. And so we help contractors who are struggling with that, both with leadership, sales process, sales mindset, sales culture, accountability, and coaching, and things like that. So that's kind of what we're doing. It's a lot of fun and enjoying the community we're building and seeing the results and the transformation with our contractors, who typically are more technically sound at first, right? They know contracting, but they don't know the philosophy and the structure of good sales teams and good team building and leadership for that. And so we're finding that that's what we're doing to serve.
We're seeing that all the time. You know, it's that building that next generation of leaders, that kind of sales business, not necessarily that craftsman mindset, but kind of that modern consumer directed business. It's almost nobody who's got a successful contracting business has a hard time with doing good work. It's just everything else and pulling all that together. So I think what you're doing is really cool. I think you're well known, man. People see you everywhere, be it Best of Success or working with RT3 or with any of the associations out there. And but how did you get into the business? You've got a great story. Jump into that.
I feel strange now to introducing myself, and it sounds like I'm talking about myself a lot, which I don't want to be about me. I want it to be about them. But I will try to be brief so that people can know my story if they never heard it. So parents were in contracting in South Florida, and I saw them have a home remodeling company, and I was on the roof. I was working with the superintendent and sweating out there in the summers, but I enjoyed sports. I got into baseball, decided to take that as far as I could. Didn't make it to the big leagues, but got a little bit of a chance to play pro ball. After that, though, my parents struggled through the recession, and there wasn't a business for me to come into and take over one day. And so I'm looking around like, hey, what am I going to do? What do I want to do with myself? So I started to assemble some mentors, and I ended up meeting a commercial roofing contractor in South Florida who was already respected as one of the best business people in the Tri-County area, in the Broward, Miami-Dade, Palm Beach County area. But not only that, in the nation, he was doing well and had the respect of many industry leaders. So at that point, I felt, and I should connect with him. But he didn't say, hey, come work for my roofing business. He said, I built this software to help manage and track our sales process. And so what he said was, why don't we, build this together? I think we're pretty smart, at least we think we are. And we'd like for you to be a part of building something. So that was in 2013. I'm like frothing at the mouth for money. I'm like, I want to make some money. I want to grow. I just had my first baby, and I just didn't want to make money just to make money. I wanted to be around a high level environment, leadership. And because playing pro baseball, not to talk about that too much, but you get exposed to what it feels like to be around a lot of high performers. And I didn't want to go backwards. I wanted to go forward. And so business started to become that environment for me. It was like, man, this is fun. It fits my, my MO of wanting to be the best and perform, and you either win or you lose. And take matters into your own hands. And so with that contractor, what I learned was I learned his business model, his culture, his strategy. I learned his results were fantastic. I learned what made him different than others in the market. And so I'm just painting this picture of a good business model in my mind and piecing it together and being mentored in the process. But secondly, I realized as I was selling this software solution that the software was needed to get a lot better to compete purely in a tech play. Like our technology was not competitive to beat to beat Salesforce every time. So I found to really create value, Piers, I was like, I need to add more value. How do I do that? Well, as I started to build these relationships and sell the software, I noticed that there was just much more that they needed help with that I saw was already implemented at the contracting company that I was with. And so the exposure, that contrast perspective helped me realize that in order for my clients to get the best results with the software, they needed more of a transformation with their sales organization. And so that's when I started to coach and consult back in 2013 in the laboratory of what's now probably a $10 million service only. And then the construction side is probably another 50, just in a local market, purely on negotiated relationships, which is a wonderful place to be. It's recession proof, high margins, it's predictable. And so when I started to just witness like what a decade of implementation looks like with this model, these strategies, these best practices, the software I realized was a tool to support that entire philosophy and culture that I started to kind of really be able to understand and teach and get people to, and I got better and better at it. So that's a little bit of the story. It just kind of evolved. And at some point it made sense for me to purely just focus on the coaching and consulting and it not be a professional service add on to the software model that we were really trying to, really was the main focus and the initial goal. But it was just me trying to do my best with what we had to add the value. So at first it seemed like, what am I doing? This is like not going where I thought. But then I realized looking back that was the perfect learning environment for me to become somebody who can add some value within the coaching capacity.
I think it's pretty interesting that, as someone who's got a little bit of experience in the software, space, in order for you to fully onboard or prescribe a software tool, you end up having to get pretty deep inside the business and start to really see some gaps, some areas that need some improvement. It's funny how you can go from this consulting or coaching from a software deployment, because it's immediately, as soon as you start diving into onboarding a CRM or configuring a tool, even if it's QuickBooks, you're going to immediately know, okay, there's some sales issues, there's some operational issues, there's some accuracy, some timing issues, and it really gives us, I know that some of my team, we're kind of coming back and saying, hey man, where did I see this before? And taking back some of that experience where you had one guy that we did some work with that was just really, really good at one thing, and being able to marry that, you can really add a ton of value to a business and, frankly, transform it, right? So question, you go from a pro baseball environment back into the contracting business, and then ultimately go through this journey in which you end up being a coach. But what did you take from the baseball experience that's kind of giving you that charge? What do you take from that you bring to some of your clients now?
I think that when you look at any sport, but for me, baseball, it shows the best players the best teams are composed of the best players, right? So if I look at a team that's a championship team, you look at a company that would be a market leader, right, or an award-winning company. So you look at those, and they're basically the exact same. And what are the variables that make up winning teams? And I think when I start to look into that and reference baseball, it's going to be good leadership, good fundamentals of the game. You can't really win if you can't field the ball well and throw it. I mean, you can't win in sales if you don't take a lead and contact the lead quickly and ask them questions, and then make sure they're fit and pre-qualify them and schedule an appointment. And then, but like all those things have to occur. But what the main difference is at the higher levels, let's say big leagues versus a high school baseball team, is going to be the fundamentals, and it's going to be the talent level and the abilities of the players. But if you look at fundamentally sound, nothing's really different. They still have to play catch. The rules of the game are the same. So if you look at sports and then you look at that in terms of like sales, I think that we got to focus on the fundamentals and not try to chase another shiny object and just go and do the next fancy thing. It's really about great team members working together and fulfilling the fundamentals on a consistent basis, and then capturing like new best practices and saying, does this fit into the foundation of the fundamentals that we already have in place? And then if you just look at, so you look at leadership, you look at team building, you look at the scoreboard. I don't know, as soon as I started playing in a more competitive environment, the stats were always up. And roofing sales, people don't even track much. They don't even really track the results and compare them with anybody else and create a healthy environment of competition, much less track what's in their pipeline and their sales activity and lead sources. And so from a tracking standpoint, sales tracking fits really well with sports and baseball, because athletes who want to be the best, they want to be the best they can, which for me, I want to be a pro, right? So I want to make enough money to hopefully change the narrative of my family's lifestyle or my life, leave a legacy, right? Anybody who wants to join a roofing company isn't there just because they love being on roofs so much. It's because they want to buy a house and have a mortgage and have a family and be able to, give back to their family, right? So they want to have some stability. So for them, you got to create an environment where, as a baseball player being recruited by different schools, you're going to go to the school that's going to pump out the highest level of producers that you want to be like when you grow up, right? Whether it's pros. So for companies, it's, do you have great facilities and are you producing success stories with people in your company? So for me, the whole journey is the same. And I think companies just have the autonomy to be really creative, to look at sports, for example, and say, there's my daughter, she's screaming.
Impressive. I got one doing the same thing.
She's got the loudest pipes out of all of them. She's a little one. Yeah, I think just there's so many parallels. That's in sales, you have the desire to be the best, and they're really competitive. So shaping a competitive environment, tracking, and then training and coaching, right? The players who are the best are typically those who are the most fundamentally sound. They work the hardest on the fundamentals, and then they get creative with taking those fundamentals and getting better. They don't get creative with the fundamentals themselves, right? We just stay consistent. We coach, leadership structure for that. And when you have that kind of culture and that system, you can produce high performers and have championship teams. So I think that I noticed that the industry, unless they were very familiar with high performing teams and things like that, I noticed that they struggled to get people bought into a vision. They struggled to get people to work harder than just the status quo. They struggled to create a lot of enthusiasm behind their brand. So there's some things that I feel correlate immediately that it was easy for me to begin to impart because I saw that it was missing in many companies.
So what do you going around and being maybe I'll call you an expert in roofing sales. Maybe I'll give you that. But
I don't deserve that title.
Yeah, I don't know. You talk about it every day, but as you're working with all these different clients out there and you're seeing across all disciplines and across all specialties, we talked about commercial and new construction and storming and the whole deal. But what would you say the one major leading indicator for whether a salesperson is going to be successful in the roofing industry? What is that skill? What is that trait that you find that's in common with the best? What would you say that is?
I think there's a couple of structural pathways that I want to say create those outcomes. I want to be the best, but the battery of all of it is the desire to be the best. There's a level of desire in these owners of these people, these salespeople who are like, all right, who who's good? Okay, why do I care? Because I want to be the better than them. And I think that there is an edge to that at some point some people can think is very arrogant or unattractive or whatever. I think it could be done in a healthy way where somebody just legitimately wants to be the best. They want to know that they're doing a good job, and how they measure themselves is by trying to make the roofing top 100, or by breaking the record at the company of this annual sales. And I think that that's that inner competitor that I think is like what like what warriors are. They're out there. They just wanna go win. And then those people have the desire. And then secondly, when that desire is there, they're open to saying, what do I need to do to be the best? So they start to adopt and change, because it does take change to be the best. It does take a lot of pain at first. It's uncomfortable, whether it's I'm prospecting consistently and I'm doing new things. But like anything, once you start to get familiar in that uncomfortable place and you stay consistent, your mind and your body begins to make it.
Yeah, that's when you grow.
Right. So like, I think that initial desire, and then because selling complex sales cycle, managing complex sales cycles and fulfilling outcomes, like being really good at consultative sales, like selling value and not being dependent on price to get the deal, qualifying really, really well, like being people who can get to the actual decision maker and understand what they care about before you present a solution. It requires a lot of discipline, because most customers want you to just give them the price right away. What's it look like? But then they're disappointed when they realize that they're not buying from them. They're thinking over everything and they weren't going to get the sale. So the discipline and the desire there has to be there, because the skills to sell at that level require you to have a level of commitment to remain uncomfortable for enough time where you're like, oh, I have an appetite for this. I don't tolerate anything less, because I see how the outcomes actually help my clients better, because I'm able to find out more information up front. But the people who don't want to be the best are going to say, I don't really care. I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing. And then they oftentimes just stay the same, and they're pretty much just
white tape. You never get better. It's what do they say? What you go through is what you grow through, right? Willingness to take some pain. So I would take it that sales is an art or a science.
Oh man, I've never been asked that question on.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I think it's a science. I think that when we say art, it becomes way too subject to interpretation, and then people don't stick with the fundamentals. So I would say it's a science.
Yeah.
But as you learn the science, you can start playing jazz, dude, and just play and have, so I think if you start with an art, then people are it's going to be like my 5-year-old when he started, 6 months ago, started to draw wild krats or an animal. It was not good, but
it literally, we can turn anybody into a salesperson. The one thing that I can't not work with is if you're not likable. If you're not likable, okay, probably gonna have a hard time. But I'm with you. I think with a desire, with a certain competitive drive, and with a willingness to, frankly, beat yourself down and grow through it, we can turn anybody into a monster in this business. And I think generally businesses that think of themselves as not sales organizations, and there's a lot of folks like that. I think being principally a sales leader for my whole career, I can't tell you how many conversations I've had where I've had to break down that I would call that uncomfortable feeling of I just don't want to come across as a salesperson, right? So it's we got to get rid of that. So you're rocking out in Maui. The business is going well. I know you're adding folks and taking on new clients. What's next? What are you guys working on this year? What's next for you?
Yeah, I think because of the vehicle for someone to get the change that they want can be done online. That I love that, and I desire to create the best vehicle. I want it to feel like a Jeep Wrangler when you're off road, like it can get through anything, and you like being in it, and you feel a little cool being in it. Like it's like I want to give people that vehicle, like they enjoy the ride to go from where we are to where we want to be, which is a great sales organization that's consultative and not salesy, but really helpful and can serve well. I feel like my goal is to make sure that experience is the best possible, and I feel like we've done that. I'm proud of that. I think what's next now is once they're in our ecosystem, what do they get that's still relational in nature? So what I have now is I have some mastermind groups, which is my highest ticket offer with non-competing contractors that I give them newest information. I spend more time with them, and then I have another group that uses the course and group coaching and still gets help, but I'm not quite as hands-on. And what I'm finding now is that the ecosystem that's been created, I just want to keep making it better. So the next thing we're doing in the fall is our first inaugural Tournament of Champions. And it's going to be a March Madness kind of bracket role play tournament with the selling competencies that we teach. And so they're going to be judged and scored as they match up with one another each week in a tournament bracket to see who the champion's going to be. And it's more like healthy.
This sounds awesome.
I'm so pumped about it.
So how are they being judged, and who are your judges? How are you pulling this together?
Yeah, so it's still it's still coming together. My hype video is coming up soon because I want to get people pumped. But we're looking at 32 teams of 3, so one person will represent each team, each matchup. They could work in teams, but it's typically going to be like a salesperson's role playing. The scenario is going to be relatively generic because I don't want to isolate people based on their business model too much. I want it to be more about celebrating and judging the competencies themselves, which is going to be relationship building, consultative selling, selling value, qualifying, presentation, context, and closing. So those are the 6 competencies that they'll be judged on. And essentially we're going to score those competencies. And then the role play candidate or the role play prospect is going to be one of our sponsors or partners because they're going to be completely disconnected to our content. They're just going to be that. And then they're going to have a judge in the breakout room privately, and then they'll announce who won, who got the job based on those competencies. So we're going to do that, and they're going to match up one-on-one in breakout rooms for each week. And then as we get to the Final Four, they won't be in a breakout room. Everybody who wants to watch them can watch, which I think it's going to create that healthy, like, oh, dang. And people are going to work harder probably to become better at sales to win that competition than they are to make more sales. So.
Oh, I think so. I think you're going to have I can just see it now. You know, we have all of my guys, I shouldn't say all of my guys and girls, but a good bit of them are all sitting around wondering where their sports is because they can't gamble as effectively and just coming up and just, I can see a whole taking odds on salespeople and whatever. It could be ugly.
Yeah.
That's cool though. I think that's a great
good sport out of selling in our industry.
Oh man, totally. You're going to end up with this whole new sport. It's fantastic.
Sport, yeah. So then the winner, I'm going to give them 3 custom rings that I'll present at our live event in January. Yeah. So they're going to get like their logo and then like STG, and they're going to get a championship ring. And it's I haven't priced it out, but I'm hoping I can manage to get them for a few $100s each.
Well, we do those WWF style, wrestling belts, and we've been doing those for almost a decade now. And I'm telling you that's like a serious thing. People won't even let you touch their belt.
It's a big deal. No, I've given belts on an individual level, and they're so great. Like the one. Bottom line is that stuff it speaks to the competitor in a way that making money doesn't. It's the love of the game. It's how do they know if they're the best, that they're not matched up with anyone? And then if they're the big fish in their own pond, they don't feel challenged. So what I want to do is take all the talent and all the companies and kind of stick them in this environment that's healthy to get the best out of them. And I think
it's great.
It's going to translate into a better experience for them. But they have to be a customer, and they have to have the context of the training to be a participant as a team. And then as the January event occurs, it'll be a completely focus on team building, because I do coaching with sales strategy in the course all the time. So basically, as I productize and digitize each layer of the fundamental of what I want to implement, I'm finding that the live experience could support the thing that I haven't decided to put into the product yet, right? So that's where the live event's going to be more of a team retreat style, and that's what I feel like in the past few years people have found the most value in going to a live event is that we get to team build. I get to bring my team. We get to get away. We get to learn from others, and so for me, it's about creating that environment outside of the digital experience, which we worked hard on to help them say, man, this is the place that we go. And we're looking forward to going each year. And 2021, January, we'll be in Florida, but I cannot wait for 2022 because I'm going to have it here in Maui.
Yeah, no, people are going to want to get that ring. People want to get that ring. I'm telling you that belt thing is big. It's crazy. You try and get touch Scott Brennan. Touch Scott Brennan's belt and he'll break your arm in 3 places. I'm not kidding. It's no mess around stuff. Anyway, very cool. Very cool. People should definitely go and check you guys out. Stay in touch with Ryan on that. This is the part where I love to ask, your inspirations. What is it that you're, with you listening, where you're getting your ideas? What are you listening to? What are you reading? Anything to share?
Yeah. I've been probably the last 7 years, I've been very business oriented and like self-help oriented, but more business. And so I've been just learning business through, I like all the resources I learned being with the contractor in South Florida, Good to Great, things like that. Multipliers book, just fundamental business leadership. And that really laid an incredible foundation. And we got into some personal finance, like The Millionaire Next Door. And I just feel like that's helped us with our lifestyle. But really, I've been, just to be open, more concerned about family than business lately, because if anybody's an entrepreneur, if anybody wants to be great, they know or they're entrepreneurial or in their sales, they know the pressure that business can create on your personal life. And so I desire to try to have everything that I can and have my cake and eat it too, and make money, have fun, make an impact, and have a great family and take care of my body. I'm doing what I can, and we're all trying. So for me, the last few months have been much more focused on my marriage, my children, making sure that we're in the right environment, and we're going to have a good family. I just don't want to be I don't want to be a statistic, which all of us could be. There's a pretty big number in the favor of not keeping marriages together than keeping them together. So I'm trying to fight that and do our best with that. And then secondly, there's just a lot of talk that I've seen as I've witnessed entrepreneurs where the children, there's not a connection when they grow up because dad was never there. So I think that now I'm very introspective about like why I'm even doing all this right now. Like, do I want to do it because I have an ego and I'm insecure and I want to be the best so people can say I'm awesome? Or like, why am I even doing any of this stuff? Like, what's my purpose? So I think as I'm digging into that, I'm finding more and more of just a need to just continue to have a good intent and other-centered approach as to why I'm doing this, helping others, loving my family and making a difference, it not being about me. And I think many of us who want to be great make it about themselves a lot, especially early on. And we realize that independence and glory on your own is not very fulfilling. It's helping others be successful and looking around and make sure the people in your life that are in your sphere of influence feel supported, feel like you're for them and you're not for you. So I think that's where I am right now. I'm more of in a personal life introspection and trying to make sure that that's healthy so that when I'm building, it's not going to damage that. In fact, it's going to support each other. So you caught me at this chapter right now. Next year might be different. So
you got to keep balance, right? You got to keep the castle together. Else nothing else matters.
Yep.
For fun, this is where I ask you, give me a good war story where something just went completely bottoms up on you, upside down. Let's laugh at your miserableness and
I
luck.
should have given this more thought because there's some bad ones. Because I'm like, which is the really bad one? Gosh, man, there's one that's stinging lately. I put out a case study, um, or two, actually, that were accurate, but didn't get permission to send them out.
That's a bad one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So what I did was I was moving really fast to try to stand up some outbound efforts and marketing, and the guidance that I got from the consulting that I'm hired for myself, because I could sell and I could brand, but like marketing, which gets people to like be ready to buy before they even meet with you, is something that's I'm learning marketing and copywriting and things like that. So as I did that, they're like, hey, evidence-based marketing is the best. And so I constructed the case studies.
But only if you have permission to use it.
Right. And then I went ahead and said, oh, these relationships are great. I feel like I'm on the edge, which I'm always walking a tightrope because I'm a risk taker and an innovator. But this one crossed the moral compass, the moral boundary and the relational integrity that I've spent years building. I friggin' put out case studies that I wrote without their permission and without their feedback on. And I had one email that made my heart stop for about 2 minutes, and then I fixed that. But those are bad mistakes when you don't keep the relationship the most important thing. And so that's what I'm actually currently working my way out of. So but overall, we've all made some big mistakes. I think that I've worked hard to keep a good reputation, but this one is one that I'm learning from, especially not going to a trade show and people can see you and meet you and shake your hand. They're like, this guy seems like he can help, and then they buy. Now I'm doing everything through digital means, right? So you gotta get someone to say, hey, I want help, right? Raise my hand, but you want to do it in a way that's done the right way. And so for me, for my desire to be great and to have results, I cut the corner and am trying to repair that damage that hopefully isn't permanent. That was a pretty bad one.
Yeah, you'll get through it. Slow down. Everybody makes mistakes, right? And sometimes it just takes people a little while to realize it. But as long as there's no malice, right? That's all that.
I think you say I'm sorry and you fix it.
Yeah.
If you don't, then you're in trouble because then you're officially a turd. If you don't,
yes, you are officially a turd. All right. Lastly, what are your thoughts on Tim Tebow? Fan, not a fan? Is he gonna do it? Is he not gonna do it?
Tim's not gonna make it. He's not gonna play in the big leagues. He's
so
he
sad.
could play in the minors for a while. If he stays for like a few more years, like 4 more years, he might get a chance. And then the Mets will be in last place, and then they play him just to get more tickets. But
he'll sell some jerseys, man.
He will, and there's value there. But he's not quite there yet. I think of Michael Jordan, and I think of Michael Jordan, if he would have kept playing, he would have sold a crazy amount of tickets and actually probably been a decent contributor. Tim Tebow, although he's flashed it, hasn't shown it enough because he'll get exposed very quickly and he'll be like 0 for 30 with like 24 strikeouts and like basically a swinging bunt single that he beat out because the pitcher was slow off the mound. Like it's going to be that bad. So I think he now being married, he's probably feeling, a focus on his wife, and then they're both just like beautiful people and they're like famous. So I think that I anticipate he's going to make more of a move with like lifestyle and brand and, writing books and commentary. He's just such a well-respected guy. I don't think baseball is going to be what he ends up doing for the next 10 years. I think it's done.
I think Tebow's going to be okay. I think he's going to do just fine. But as a Gator, it hurts. It hurts me to give up. But what are you going to do? Anyhow, Ryan, we'll close out. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate the time. Thanks for sharing some of those thoughts with us. Any last anything you want to plug before we close out?
Yeah, I'd say first off, make sure you use an Eagle View, right? So make sure you use an Eagle View. They're a great program, a great technology that has been proving itself as a staple tool for years, and you need to continue to do what they're doing. They're innovative as well, and they're just a great group. But secondly, if you guys want to reach out, just go to our website, salestransformationgroup.com. I have some articles, some resources, and call you to action by getting a price of our system. And you just fill out a short quiz. It probably takes 5 minutes. We just want to make sure we can help you and make sure everybody's time is well spent. And then you could book a time with one of my growth consultants who are on my team to learn a little bit more about how we can help, share with you our results and how our system looks and everything. And then if you want to join our program, we would help you guys hopefully quite a bit if you guys do the work. So yeah, I would say that. And then this industry is moving quickly. It's moving right now in a way that's going to be way different than the last decade. And there's a lot of young entrepreneurs who are using new methods that the older ones haven't decided to embrace because they're stuck. And I think that unless the new generation, or unless the older ones start to open up their mind and try new things, I think they're going to feel it later, because these younger ones are just super savvy and taking risks, and they're growing really quickly. So I would just encourage everybody, if you're a contractor, to just be open to change and just trust that other people are doing things like this, and you won't be alone, and you're going to get results. But we got to just keep adapting and innovating to the environment, and it's changing really quickly right now, with in a way that we haven't seen move this quickly, and I'm excited for it because the best man, the best team, ones who can stay calm and stick to the fundamentals, and also be open to implementing new things, they're going to come out on top, and they're going to survive.
Awesome. There you have it. Ryan Groth, Sales Transformation Group. Check him out. And thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.